crafty friends, this is the Papered Chef here. Well, this just happened to me. I was trying to cut out my squirrels, minding my own business, wasn't planning on doing a live right now, and this happened to me. And I said, well, you know what? This is a teaching moment. Let's not get frustrated. Let's figure out how to solve this problem. So I'm going to do some live troubleshooting with you. I don't know what's going to happen. We're just going to stamp some more squirrels, suck it up, Buttercup, and try to deal with this, right? We don't get upset. We just deal with it. So this is Nuts About Squirrels. I've been using this in many of my videos lately, and I already have the squirrels mounted onto the Stamparatus. If you want to know all about how to color your squirrels, using the blends, etc., you know, check out my latest tutorials, and I still have some of the projects that I haven't mailed off yet, so I will go ahead and share those with you as well. And so what I want to cover is I'm just gonna stamp a couple images. What I'm going to cover is how to get the mat to load without going in crooked, some of the tips and tricks for that, and then how to align your machine so that we will get after we can finally get it not to go crooked, we'll get the right amount of white space around the stamped image by aligning a machine with what's called scanning, cutting, position adjustment. Okay? So if this happens to you, your mat goes crooked, you're not getting good cuts, we're going to troubleshoot what to do. And I have two mats in case, you always should have an extra mat in case one of your mats just goes kaput. You always need an extra mat. So we're just going to put this on there. Again, this is not the stamping tutorial where you're stamping and coloring. I did that in a recent video called Ink It Up. I have an Ink It Up series where I teach you all about techniques, coloring, stamping, etc. Now, we do need, in this case, because the Stamparatus is aligned, I would stamp ahead of time and color a little bit with the two-step stamping. Not the whole thing, because obviously now you get to kind of see why I don't color my whole stamped image ahead of time, because sometimes you get a hot mess like that happen. But in this case, you want to do the two-step stamping part ahead of time, because if you try to align this later, it's like trying to get the genie back in the bottle. You would never align this later like as perfectly as you would with your Stamparatus at the time of your stamping. So let's do another one in case I get two. In case this happens to me again, we're just going to get two of these. We'll stamp two of these, and then if I have to go stamp another one, we'll bring this back. So I just leave my magnets there. I'm just using black. Memento black is a great color because it's a great ink. It works with both the Stampin' blends and the other inks, and I just love Memento black. StazOn is a more permanent ink, and I don't use it as much, only for watercoloring, stamping on, when I stamp on wood and stuff like that, I use it. But other than that, I pretty much use this ink all the time. All right, we have two squirrels to work with. Let's just see what happens. This is live troubleshooting. I'm just going to stick it. I don't want to get ink down on this part, so I'm just sticking a paper towel there so I can put this over here. Now, we got our stamped images. Let's try this again and see what happens. So here are some of the tips for you. So when my mat doesn't load right, I did it with my other mat. I think I need to do it with this mat. I'm going to rough up my mat. Okay, so and I am not a brother spokesperson. Okay, so just so you know. So don't go complaining if something doesn't happen. I'm just telling you what works for me. Okay, so if you have a problem after this, this is at your own risk, and don't go telling me about how your mat will never load again. This is when your mat doesn't load. I'm troubleshooting when your mat doesn't load. When my mat doesn't load, I'm just roughing it up with a little bit of, I'm not messing with these black marks. These are all needed for the scanner, the registration marks. I am getting a little bit of rough around the edges here so that the mat doesn't slip when it gets to those rubber rollers. And that's what's been happening here. This is slipping. And this isn't the same mat that I roughed up earlier with the emery board. So you don't really need to rough. I'm just doing these edges because that's where the rollers are. And you could also do it down here because maybe it's going to help if I do it down here, because this is where maybe the rollers aren't grabbing either. And I know you might be saying just get a new mat, but I don't really get new mats because I use mats so much. I only have a couple mats. Well, I have like 50 mats, but I'm saying once I discovered years ago how to re-stick my mats, I stopped doing this. I just re-stick them now. That's why they look so dirty. I just keep washing them, re-sticking, repeating, washing, re-sticking, repeating. So this gets that slippery corner to sort of grab onto that roller and it does really help. It helps a lot. And this is from the Dollar Tree. This is an emery board. All right, so that'll be the first thing we hope to try. We hope that will make my mat load better, okay? See how these rollers, this is slippery, that was slippery, right? Now we're gonna hopefully get this to load better. Now, I know it's a little squeaky. Sorry if that bothers anybody, but I didn't want to put a towel under it or anything, just to, all right, so we're gonna just go ahead and load the mat, okay? It's this button here, and hopefully it grabs on. So we're using this button here, and I like to hold my hands here like this to hopefully let it load in straight. I'm not pushing it, I'm just sort of keeping it from dropping onto the floor. Okay, right. Let me just, oops, see what happens when I lift my hands up, it didn't load. No problem. We're gonna hit that button again. Here, just so you can see that, it's that button there. Pull that out a little bit and let it grab, see? All right, grabbed. Now, we got that part done. Let's stick the stamped images down. Let's stick the stamped image down, just one, we're only gonna do one. Let's try the next part. We're stuck it on the mat like that, and I'll show you how to cut this out, and then I'll show you how to align it so we get the right amount of. You open up your machine, you see pattern and scan. We're gonna click on scan. We're gonna click on direct cut because we're directly cutting out the squirrel. And we're gonna hopefully not have a problem this time. We're gonna click on save it to the machine as opposed to saving it to Canvas Workspace. So we're just cutting this out. That's only temporary storage. We're gonna leave it at 12 by 6. I just did an entire video on this. We cut and layered. In fact, I'll show you my projects. We cut and layered the little squirrel, but right now we're just trying to get it to just cut. Because I have a few more card spaces I already cut out, and I was just trying to finish a few more squirrel projects before I moved on to this kit that I just got, that I think I'll unbox next. So I was just trying to mind my own business, cut out a couple squirrels, thought, all right, everything's going smooth, and then that happened. But like I said, this is a teaching moment, I'm gonna troubleshoot. All right, so now you have your squirrel on the screen, and all these little bits also selected. All those little bits are actually parts that you don't want to cut out because they're just dirt on the mat. So first select your image that you want, and then what it did is it selected this separately. Here, let me zoom in to show you. It selected the head because I didn't use the pencil trick. The pencil trick is just taking a pencil and enclosing that little gap there. You don't need to do it for this image because although I usually use the pencil trick to make sure I have a nice solid black image, I can get rid of that little face that got selected very easily by just going to, when you go to preview. So after you make your selection, you can even ignore small objects, but when you go to preview and then you click OK, and you put a little outline distance around your squirrel, it'll get rid of that little bit anyway, so I don't need to use the pencil trick. So go ahead and put an outline distance of 0.04, right? And then it got rid of the little part where it went in and enclosed the face because now it got a bigger, it's very forgiving when you use outline distances. It's one of the reasons I use them. So let's click OK, and we're going to click on, now we're going to click on cut. So let's see what happens. I'm going to just move this back. I'm going to click start. That's what I'm clicking up there. But now you're going to just see what happens, kind of how I keep the mat from sort of slipping. And I was doing this, but it still grabbed on and just started slipping. I see it sort of buckling. It's not quite, there we go. I kind of do this to keep the paper from slipping. I kind of do that to keep my mat from slipping. And I was even doing that and it still went, ee! And I was like, oh my goodness, what is going on today? See, it's doing it again. So it needs, this part is a little slippery and it's doing a crooked cut, okay? See how that's doing a crooked cut? It just moved it around a little bit. Look, it's doing the disco dance. All right, so we have another hot mess on our hands, and I'm gonna show you how to troubleshoot it. What I would do when that happens, and if you don't want to get another mat. So that's what happens, and if that ever happens, you don't want to send your ScanNCut back. You don't want to call brother and say, oh my goodness, what's going on, right? We fix it, we fix it. So we can try to load the mat again. We could try a different mat, or we can sort of put these, so we could take this out, right? We could take it out like that. See how it's not, it was in that side a little more? I just had to lift that up to get it out. It was in that side, it was not even. Okay, we can try that, but see how I just did that? I had to pull my mat out, but unlatching it. Okay, that's one way to get it out. You could also hit unload the mat, but when it's crooked like that and you unload it, usually doesn't come out. So that's why I did that. So I'm going to try now. We're going to try to do this a little bit here to see if we can get it to not go so crooked. Again, we could, and you could, clean it better if you have a lot of, grease on your hands and things like that. Different things. So we're going to try it. So now we're going to go. Okay. It might help. And if not, we just try the other mat, right? I'm not worried about these numbers getting. I just don't want to mess with these. These are the big deal. These are the registration marks for scanning. Not that these don't matter, but I'm not worried about those marks as much. Just the dots. Don't mess with those dots. Those are your alignment dots. Okay, let's try it again. And you can also, clean this, definitely clean this better. You can see I really use the heck out of these, right? This is where these are roller marks. Okay, I'm just doing that a little bit. All right, so let's try it again. I'm hitting the load button, just so you know, that's what, it loaded crooked, unload. Whenever that happens, just keep unloading it. Okay, load the mat. It's doing it again. Unload it. You don't want to load it crooked. You have to stop that before, stop it in its tracks. Okay, let's get that to load. Oops, doing it again. So all I'm doing is hitting the load button, by the way. There. Now, you might want to fix it though, to make sure. It looks like it could grab a little bit there. It looks like it's still a little bit crooked, so I'm just going to lift up that lever. Okay, this is another troubleshooting tip. So even if you think it loaded, I'm going to get it in there myself and do what I think. I'm lifting up that lever and I'm making it completely straight. Okay, so we'll see what happens. Let's take the other stamped image and we'll just go for it. Let's try it. Let's try it again. So again, these are all hopefully tips and tricks that help you with your ScanNCut and help you keep you from getting too frustrated. You're just going to troubleshoot, fix it, and if I do this a few times. What about troubleshooting the rollers? Yes, that's a good idea, Nola. The rollers I clean with the baby wipes, but I don't want to rough those up with the nail file, but I guess I will next. I guess I will next if I have to. The rollers could be. Is the black plastic wheel dirty or tacky? Black plastic wheel. You mean the rollers? Okay, hold on. Let me just keep doing this. The rollers are not sticky or tacky. They're just rubber. And I do clean them with baby wipes. And we could rough them up a little with it wouldn't hurt to rough them up a little with the nail file, but I really don't want to mess with the rollers other than cleaning them. I like them to stay smooth. I've never really roughed up the rubber rollers, but I've cleaned them a lot of times in the past. I'm just getting through this part for you quickly. So that, let's see. Hopefully this mat doesn't buckle. I'm just doing this just to keep this. The whole mat could buckle, but I'm trying to keep at least the paper from not moving. Now it's not that my mat's not sticky. I just want this. Oops, mat's buckling again. But if I think I'm at the point where I could do the scanning, cutting, position adjustment. You get the idea. We just have to keep doing. We're at the point where that wasn't so bad, but now we need to align the machine. Okay, so keep on trying to get your mat to load correctly. Okay, and you do that same thing I showed you, but then also the other troubleshooting tip I want to show you. Right, something's tacky stuck to them. Rollers, yes. There's nothing on my rollers. Okay, but that's. Oh gosh, sorry. All right. What I'm going to do is just unload this for a second, and I'm going to show you. I don't want to rough these up, but you should clean them. There's nothing stuck on them because I've been using them. So you can go like this, right? lift that out, and see how I'm going to clean them with a baby wipe. Okay? And I'm going to do that to the other side, and you just have to sort of, you know, roll them along. This side isn't easy to clean, this side. This side rolls. See, this side, not so much. But that's what I would do. I mean, clean all this. I've shown you in the past ones. I've shown you in the past how we clean our, I mean, that's dirty back there. How we clean the underneath of our ScanNCut, and how we clean our ScanNCut, and how we take it apart and all that stuff. All right, so I showed you some tips, and I mean, I'm getting better. It went from, this is what happened to me this morning. It went like from this was my second try. Oh, my mat keeps slipping. This was my third try I did with you. Look, I'm keeping my mat from slipping, so I'm working on it, and that's working, okay? But the other thing I want to just, so I'm almost there where the mat's not going to keep slipping, okay? You're going to keep on cleaning, aligning, unloading, reloading, okay? That's what you're going to do to get your mat to keep from slipping, and using your emery board trick, okay, on the corners. Now, let us just, for the sake of this part of the troubleshooting video, because I don't want to, what's it called, beat a dead horse. Not that we beat any horses here. I'm just going to get this other one that's already roughed up a little. It's a different mat. It's just a different mat, because I want to show you, oops, hopefully that's going to dry in a minute. All right, what I want to show you now is how to do what's called scanning, cutting, position adjustment. It's another troubleshooting technique. We can go ahead and, while it's drying, we can go ahead and do this part. I could talk about it and what it does. And I could compare this to the CM350 I really like better, because it lets you actually align it. This one's what's called an auto alignment, and it doesn't let you precisely align, you know, too much. So I have a pack of, this is just so you know, you need 12 by 12, but it doesn't have to be quite 12 by 12. It just has to be 12 across. But it doesn't have to be, say, 12 down, because you could actually align. I've done it with 12 by 6. Where it only really scans in the top part of the paper. So what I'm using here is basic white cardstock. It's the one that's kind of thin from Stampin' Up. It's pure white. You get, this is what I use for cutting with my ScanNCut all the time. I cut out sheets and sheets of stamped images, which I'm about to do. I'm about to move on to other things, but like I said, I had to stop and troubleshoot. All right, here we go. So we put you put a piece of 12 by 12 here, cardstock, again, or 12 by 6. I'm using basic white Stampin' Up, but you could use from Joann, Michaels, whatever. Use cheap cardstock. What it's going to do now is I'm going to load my mat, and it's going to put crosshairs, okay? Put crosshairs there. It's going to cut crosshairs. Then it's going to scan the crosshairs. Then it's going to align those so that you get the most even amount of white space on one side as you do on the other side. I'm going to show you what that looks like. My thing's still drying here, and my thing is, I should get that paper towel that I was using over here. I have a paper towel. Okay, yeah, I can kind of dry my ScanNCut. Now, what does that mean? What does that look like to you? Let me grab my bucket of crafty goodness for a second. This is what it looks like when you're not aligned. See, and it's still cute. Okay, so when you're not aligned, you need to do what's called the scanning, cutting, position adjustment. It means that you're not getting the right amount of even white space on one side as the other. This is when you are aligned pretty perfectly here. I showed you how to cut this out and layer it during our ScanNCut tutorial. Okay, not aligned, aligned. I'm going to show you how to align. You want an even amount of white space around the left side and the right side and the top and the bottom of your stamped image without this kind of thing. But if you get this kind of thing, so what? Don't throw it away. It's awesome still, and it looks like you did a drop shadow effect on purpose. So don't worry about it. Keep all your misfits, as long as you don't have like it chewing up like the mat like it did on me earlier. So I'm going to try to load this mat. This mat already has the nail file thing done to it, so we'll see if I can't get this mat to load easily. Nope. Oh no, you know what? We don't need to load it yet, because, sorry about the squeaky, we're going to have to do the scanning, cutting, position adjustment now. And when we do that, it'll ask me to load the mat again. So we'll just do whole thing start to finish troubleshooting tip number 2. And then I have a third troubleshooting tip. Wait, do I have a third one? Yes, well, it depends. Maybe I do, maybe I don't. It depends. Oh, we've done the pencil trick, but we didn't really need to use it. So this trick is scanning, cutting, position adjustment, starting from scratch. Okay, so what I showed you earlier was trying to get the mat to load better. Okay, all of you guys are giving great suggestions. Tacky, check your wheels, check if things are tacky. Hello, Nola. Hello, Denise. Hello, Yvonne. I'm going into settings, by the way, if you want to do this along with me with a piece of white paper. Hello, Kathy. Darlene, hello. Janet, Lester. Okay. Is the black wheel dirty or tacky? The black wheel is just rubber, so I wouldn't call it dirty, or it's definitely we cleaned it, so hopefully that we got rid of that one. Hello, Terry. There might be something stuck to my rollers. Who knows? On my left roller, it's definitely going crazy. Hi, Diana. Hi, Sandra. Hi, Dawn. Okay, we're gonna try this. We're gonna try this now. Thank you all for coming. Last minute, unannounced. What we're doing is going into the settings. I went to the little wrench. Okay, thank you, Colleen. I'm glad you find the tips helpful. Okay, we're going down, down. Did I miss it? I'm looking through my camera. Hold on, where'd it go? Shouldn't it be down that far? Should it be? Okay, 1, 2. There it is. There it is. Okay, see, keep going down until you see scanning, cutting, position, adjustment. Okay, scanning, cutting, position, adjustment. What does that mean in English, or in layman's terms, right? It just means we're trying to align our blade. Okay, it's called alignment. We're aligning our blade to make sure that we get the even amount of space when we scan something in. We want to cut it out. We want the even amount of space. So it's going to load your mat. Now, if it doesn't load my mat, you know what I'm going to do. I'm going to get my, so it's going to say, install the blade holder, blah, blah, blah. We did that. The blade holder's in there. With a sheet of white paper, okay? Sheet of white paper, which we did. Shift the scanner lever to position 1 and press start. Okay, it's at lever 1, but I'll show you how to change the lever in a minute. And start. Now it's going to try to load my mat. It's going to say mat's not loaded, and it's going to do, it says, go ahead and load the mat. So you need to load the mat. Even if you hadn't loaded the mat earlier, like it always makes you load it again. And wait right before you do this. So it's trying to load. And every time it's going in crooked, what you're not seeing is just every time it's going in crooked, I'm just trying again. Because you have to get it to go in straight for this adjustment, okay? Pretty good. Little bit. All right, little bit. It's saying mat cannot be recognized. What the heck? Okay. So let's just show you what you can't see is like here. I'll just show this part so you can see it. It's saying mat can't be recognized. Now, when you get that error, if you have a couple different ScanNCuts, you just check. This is definitely one for the SDX. When you have this diamond in there, and there's no arrow on this side, you have a brother SDX mat. I'm using an SDX machine. See, this is DX mat. If you have arrows on both sides of your machine, sometimes I actually get this one that says, look, you're using the wrong mat. I get this all the time, and then I'm like, oops, I'm using my CM350 mat. So if you have a couple machines, it might be that you have an arrow going both ways, and that's why the mat can't be recognized. But in this case, the mat should be recognized because I'm using an actual DX mat. So the mat should be recognized. So go ahead and I'm going to try to load it again. It's saying mat can't be recognized. I don't know what's, oops, and it's there. It's loading crooked. Let's do the little trick I taught you a minute ago. And even though I've done it on this mat before, we're going to do it again. I'm not calling it quits on my machine. This is just one of my 4 machines. Just one of those is with me right now where I'm at. But, I mean, I'm not calling it quits. You have to make it work. Okay. We're loading. Okay, sort of loaded crooked. But so before I do a scanning, cutting position adjustment, I'm going to get that to go in a little bit straighter by just going like this. A little bit straighter. Okay, good. Now I think that got it straight. Close enough. Now, let me tell you about that lever while I'm here. It talked about having the lever at position 1. Before I start the scanning position adjustment, there is a little lever over here. I want to do this now because once I align it, you don't want to do this because, I don't want to move my machine around once I do this, right? Because then it'll get on the line again. You want to align it every time you go to a new part. See, these are the levers. It says before you start using your scanning, cutting, position adjustment, it says make sure your machine is set to lever 1. It's set to lever 2 right now, but I'm setting it back to lever 1. That means the scanning plate is down. The only time you need lever 2 is when you're using thick materials or when you're drawing. Like usually when you take the pens and you draw, it will tell you to use lever 2. So just don't ever use lever 2 unless it tells you to use lever 2. Just leave it on lever 1. Okay, let's do everything we need to do now. We're going to do the scanning, cutting, position adjustment, and hopefully it'll just work. Okay. Okay, so we've done everything we need to do. We loaded the mat. I didn't get any mat loading errors. We're going to click on start. it's going to do now, it's going to go in, it's going to scan, and it's going to make those two little things I told you about, the two crosshairs. So have you ever had this happen? I'd like to hear in the comments if you've had this kind of thing happen to you, like this kind of hot mess. If you have, did you get it fixed? Did you give up? What did you do? Tell me what you did or what you're about to do. I don't want anybody to give up. We're getting, see, look how much better it got just from me today. This, to this, to this, and to this. Look how much better it's getting. It gets better all the time, and I can use all this for die cutting. My scraps of paper, it's no big deal. All right, so it's cutting my crosshairs. So now what it's doing is it's scanning in the crosshairs it just cut. I'll show you those crosshairs a little bit when I pull out the mat later. Okay, so it's now scanning them in. It's asking me, now this is the SDX machine, okay? So it's asking me, is it aligned? I'm gonna say kind of no. Well, I mean, if you say no, you just gotta do it again. But so I'm gonna go with no. But it doesn't let you then, if you say no on a CM machine, you can then, it says change the white paper and try again. Okay, if you do it with what's it called? A CM machine, you're allowed to go like you can with the printer. But I'm gonna say no because I'm not thinking it's aligned, but I'm gonna just say no just to show you now. What you do is you're gonna take this paper out and try again. See? It scanned them in and I don't think it quite scanned them in. So we're gonna turn it around. I mean, I don't think they're quite aligned, so I'm gonna turn it around and I'm gonna go do that again. Okay, I'll stick that paper right there. So you can keep saying no as many times as you want. It'll keep just doing it again. It says hit start, and I just turn my paper over. And if you don't get a new piece of paper, turn your paper over, and then chop, and then get a paper trimmer and chop off the crosshairs and keep doing it again and again. I've had to do this up to 10 times. But once I do it, so I get asked all the time, how often do you do this? I probably have to do this as much as I use my machine, every few days, once a week at least, but usually every few days I have some issue where I have to do this. But I'm more like once a week. But with the CM models, I hardly ever have to do it. They stay aligned way longer. In fact, I like those models better, but it doesn't have auto blade. You have to set the blade manually. It's a loud, really loud machine. It doesn't cut thick materials. So there's disadvantages to the CM models as well, right? But I just like it better for this purpose of cutting stamped images. I just don't have it with me. So I am dedicated right now to making this work. This is the only machine I have with me. I need to make it work. I have a lot of work to do. I love using my ScanNCut. I'm ready to stamp all kinds of images for my next thing I'm doing, and I just don't want to, this is, all right, so now I'm going to go ahead and say yes for the sake of saying yes. We'll try it though. So I'm going to go ahead and say yes, even though I'm not really sure if it's, lined or not. We're going to say yes, and then all that happens is nothing. You're like, oh, okay. You have to take its word for it. It says the setting was saved. Very important after you do an alignment, this is the trick I wanted to teach you, I'm going to take this out for a second. Now, I think it's important. Now, this is just my opinion. It seems like now if I move everything around, let me grab out that Stamparatus for a second, and I'm going to put the Stamparatus up here for a second and just do a stamp. If I move everything around and I unload my mat, then I end up with like a big hot mess again. So I think it's easier to just leave the mat loaded at that point. I'm just going to go ahead and make a squirrel here. A squirrel to cut out, right? I think it's easier to leave everything loaded and just do just try it again, right? I'm going to just try this again. You can't see it, but I'm just stamping an image real quick, just like I did earlier. I'm grabbing out my Memento Black. I'm trying not to move my machine. Okay, so I'm just stamping an image. With the Stamparatus, you can, oops. Okay, let's not do the other part of it. With the Stamparatus, you can stamp and it stays. I'm not even doing the back of the squirrel because we're just trying to get through this. We're seeing if it aligned. Okay, I'm laying it on the mat. I'm going to click scan, direct cut, save it to the machine, start, and it's going to scan in. It's also scanning in the one that's a hot mess. We're not going to select that one. We're only going to select the top one. We're trying to get it to cut out correctly. And if it doesn't, you know, we just repeat the alignment process again, the mat loading process. We just repeat all the things I'm showing you. Everything I'm showing you can be done multiple times until you get it the way you want it, until you get it right, or until you get it where it's good enough. So I want to select just that squirrel, because the other squirrel, remember, is the hot mess. We just want the top squirrel that I just stamped real quick for this, because remember I had all those others stamped and we didn't get to use them. Ignore object size. We'll just get rid of any little bits I accidentally selected around the side. And now we want to put that little outline distance around it. Oops. Well, here comes time for the pencil trick. So even with the outline distance, when it doesn't, okay, let's zoom in. Another troubleshooting tip. I did not plan this, but that's interesting. You know what happens is when I use the crumb cake part of my stamp and do the two-step stamping, it's way more forgiving. So what happened is, even with my outline distance, look at that. It went ahead and it scanned the inside of the squirrel, the outside of the squirrel, the face. So I need to go ahead and take my little pencil so another tip or trick, you don't have to just use a pencil. You could use the marker itself, like a black marker. So it depends on if you want to erase it later. Depends on the artist's intention. All right, I am full of tips and tricks today, and I didn't know, again, couldn't have planned it better myself. Okay, so what I'm showing you now is there is a little gap. There's a little gap. See that little gap? I'm going to fill it in with a pencil, right like this, because any other gaps? I don't see any more. I think, oh, here, it's one by its foot. Okay? When I was using two-step stamping, the gap by its foot was automatically covered by this crumb cake being in there. And this little gap should make it now scan. So we're going to just do that again, because the reason is you have to, when you're using the ScanNCut, you have to have enclosed images for it to scan. Okay? Now you might be saying, boy, it's really taking her forever to cut out a stamped image. No, I cut out like hundreds at once. Once you get this all right and you get the process done, I literally stamp an entire 12 by 12 sheet. I'm about to stamp a lot of stamps, and I don't sit there and do this every time. Once I get it right, then it's going to be quicker and easier. So what we're trying to do is now hopefully that pencil trick worked. Now, if you don't want to use a pencil and you're allowed, say you're not worried about the artist, the gaps between, then you can just use a black marker and fill in the space with a black marker. So sometimes I use a black marker instead of the pencil. And sometimes, because I'm not worried about erasing the mark later. Okay, I put that 0.04 outline distance around it again, and we're going to click on cut. And we're going to click start. Now remember, after we did that scanning, cutting position adjustment before, I did not take the mat out, because in this session of scanning, you can turn on your machine, keep it on for 4 hours without it turning off. Usually my machine stays aligned for at least that long, at least for my session, without having to realign it. Oh, it looks like it's doing it. We've got progress in this tutorial. Okay, I am so happy, you guys. You have no idea. Because if not, I was going to have to rinse, repeat, and keep you online forever. And I don't want to do that. We're doing a live, but I know you got things to do, places to go, people to craft with. All right, so look at that. This was my hot mess, right? Look, well, that was from before. We didn't do that one just now. This is the one we did just now. And we have success. Without giving up, without cursing, without sending our machine back to brother, without calling brother, without doing anything, we have success. Now, the reason I'm going to have continued success right now is I'm going to keep this machine on for 4 hours. I can't keep it on for any longer than that. It auto shuts down. Well, I mean, if I walk away, I'm saying. Or if I keep using it, it'll stay on longer. But what I'm saying is, after, say, I have at some point I have to sleep, right? You can craft all day, but you got to sleep. When you do, your machine spits out the mat. This is honest to goodness, I can't make this up. And then I'm like, oh no. When I wake up, I'm like, oh no, I have to realign my machine sometimes because it spit out my mat. So let me show you about the auto shutdown feature and how to keep it longer than you might have yours set at only an hour. So I'm going to show you how to set that for a longer time. Okay, that's one of the settings. And then I'll show you the rest of my squirrel projects that I haven't given away yet or mailed off. And now you know how to align. Now you know how to align your machine. All right, so let's go back to the settings. Okay. You're just going back to, or you can click on home actually. Home. Go back to your settings now. Home screen. This is where you can tell it. I know, I'm so happy, Denise. I'm telling you, she's like, success. All right, it's called auto shutdown. Let's find the button. It's one of these here. It's something I only have, there it is, auto shutdown. All right, so when you first get your machine, yeah, I know, right? Perfect cut. I'm going to show it off because this is more perfect than a lot of my other cuts. That's what you get for not giving up. Okay, so auto shutdown. When you first get your machine, you might be set to like 1 hour, and it is set to 1 hour because that's the default setting. Because the black, you know it's a default setting, is because there's a black square around it. Those are the default settings whenever you see that black square. Always, and this, trust me, you're going to want to do this. Just do it right now. If you're not going to do anything else while watching my tutorial, go in and do this auto shutdown 4 hours. This is so important because if you just got done doing all that troubleshooting and all that work and you want to walk away and eat or sleep, at some point after it shuts down, after you stop actively using it, it's going to spit out the mat and you're going to be like, oh man, it spit out the mat. And now I got to rough up the edges of the mat. Now I got to align my mat. Now I got to mess with my levers and do my alignment again, right? Sometimes, I mean, you don't always have to. But in this case, if you move your machine to another part of the room, if your lighting is different, if your overhead light was on and now it's not, if you have a video light on and now you don't. Any kind of variables, and by the way, don't have side lights. Have overhead lights, but don't have those artificial lights coming in the side of your machine because they will mess up your scan. All right, so let's click there. I just want to tell you one more thing that you might not know about, and you might think it's something that's for alignment, and I thought this when I first started using a ScanNCut. I'm self-taught, but I kind of had to figure out all these settings on my own. There's something called blade adjustment area, and I was like, oh, that surely is an alignment tool, but it's not. All this does is tell you, you know at the beginning when you turn on your machine and it goes, and it goes like across, you can watch your blade do it. Next time you turn on your machine, you're going to see it go, well, this just tells you how much do you want it to go across when it adjusts. Do you want it to just go over a little bit? It saves time. A little bit more, it goes across. I just leave it set to this. I'm just telling you, but that has nothing to do with alignment, by the way. It's only when the blade goes across the front to kind of set itself up when it's doing a cut. So it's not your alignment. Your alignment is not called alignment, okay? And it's not called that either. It's called scanning, cutting, position adjustment. This is what we use as the alignment. And that's what we, oh gosh, no. I didn't want it to do that. Let's see if I can't get out of this. No, it did it, it unloaded my mat. I shouldn't have done that. All right. Out of curiosity, I'm going to try it again and hopefully, anyway, it should be able to unload your mat and it should still be, technically, it should still be perfectly aligned. I'm just saying that once I get it aligned, I don't like to unload my mat, but I just did by accident when I was trying to teach you guys, but that's all good. I'm going to have faith because I have a lot of faith. You have to have faith when you use the ScanNCut, right? Then I have a lot of faith that it's going to be aligned next time I use it. So now let me just show you my projects and we'll end with that. Whatever I have left here. So I've been sending these off as both thank you cards and get well cards to people. And I used my ScanNCut for some of these and some of these I didn't. And Susan MK just won this Nuts About Squirrels stamp set in my host drawing. And I'll be giving away another one at the end of the month. So if you want to shop with me at my Stampin' Up store, you get entered into a drawing when you use the code. And Celebration's going on right now, and you get free items for each $50 you spend. And these little trinkets called the acorn trinkets are in the clearance section. And this paper, I showed you how to dye it with the little daubers and use watercolors. And this paper was called Pattern Party Designer Series paper. ScanNCut. This is a set of dies that I'm doing a series on YouTube called the Give It a Whirl series. This card was not even part of my series, but I definitely wanted to show it in my series. I show how to make this kind of card though in my series. And this was some more watercoloring right there, where you watercolor the background, or actually this one was more like blending brushes. Okay, you can use Give It a Whirl with the ScanNCut. Give It a Whirl dies. There's the ScanNCut all layered up. I showed you how to use Wink Stella to color these. I showed you how to use this one here. What is that called? I'm trying to think of the name. In Good Taste Designer Series paper. Did I swirl that around? Let's do it again. I don't remember if I just did the whole thing. I had to put those little leaves there because you see part of the square when you spin it. Happy fall, y'all. And I want the square, I want to give it to someone with the square aligned like that, or the rectangle, I should say. So in case you missed it, you know, these are all tutorials. I taught you how to make this box in my Give It a Whirl series. I showed you how to cut these ScanNCut images out in one of the tutorials recently. Today I showed you how to troubleshoot. So we've done 3 things. Where's my little, oh, here they are, here they are. I covered these need to go back in there. These are Hershey Nuggets. So this is all just like stuff I'm working on, but I'm moving on. I was just trying to finish up. I have all these card bases cut, and I was like, I didn't color the inside of that one. This one is Beauty of the Earth Designer Series paper with a triple layer on this one. These are twinsies. I got some twinsies and this is Beauty, Blackberry Beauty, and some Cork Specialty paper. I got twinsies with my ScanNCut when I moved it over when I was cutting. This is Beauty of the Earth. See, sometimes I even have a squirrel on the inside. It's so easy to put squirrels on the inside. You just cut out a bunch of mats, use your ScanNCut, and make squirrels on the inside of your cards too. So these make great Get Well cards. So this is Beauty of the Earth again. So as you can see, I cut out a lot of dies and stamp on the dies. And Nuts About You is part of Nuts About Squirrels. But this, and so is the Hope You're Feeling Bright-Eyed and Bushy-Tailed. But this one, Happy Fall, Y'all, is part of Banner Year. And it's a stamp set I'm using a lot in my series, and even in my next series, Gift Giving, Giving Gifts, Gift Giving, same difference. It's just that they call the dies something else. Anyway, so there's going to be another series coming up. And see, some of these I have stuff on the inside, like I did that. You know what I mean? Just for play. Then you don't have to write as big of a note. Cork Specialty paper, Blackberry Beauty Designer Series paper. So I made 25 of these projects, and I guess I only sent off maybe 6 or 7. And now I'm trying to make more, is what I was trying to do with my ScanNCut today when this all sort of happened. And I have some of these I'm ready to put on cards too. These are just little pieces I have ready to mount onto cards very easily. And I already have all the card bases cut. These are diaper fold treat pouches. These are going to go in with, when I mail people kits, I have kits. So I don't mail these to like a customer if they place an order, because it's just, it would cost me like $5 in postage, because it would turn into a package because of the thickness, right? So what I would do with these is I put these types of things in with my, when someone orders a kit or something from me, I put those in because I'm already sending a flat rate package. So that's what these are, just fun things. Or you carry them around. They're really great for waitresses and waiters, random acts of kindness, a security guard somewhere, anybody, a healthcare worker. These are great for that, but you definitely tell them there's nuts inside this toffee candy, or toffee candy. So that's what these are for, the random acts of kindness. I do carry them around in my purse. As long as I'm not going to be out in the heat where chocolate melts, I would carry them around in my purse. Okay, Wink Stella. See, I didn't use the ScanNCut for all of these things. This was just ephemera pack. Let's see what's on this one. Oh, this one has an extra layer of an 1/8 inch around the border. See how it doesn't matter if it's not aligned, your ScanNCut's not aligned, and your squirrels are kind of crooked. It still looks cute because they still got that little extra white, and it's fine. And some can be layered, like this is layered, and some doesn't have to be layered. And what else do I have here? This one, little squirrel. I was just making tags. This is going to be for my gift giving gifts series. I'll be talking about making tags, not with the squirrels, but we have other sets. We'll be making some, well, actually, we'll make some fall, but we'll make some Christmas tags too. Okay, and then This is my Give It a Whirl series I'm working on now. This was part 6. So if you're checked out my Give It a Whirl series on YouTube, I'm talking about how to use this. We're delving deep and it's almost over. I have a couple more. We're doing sweet stockings next. And a couple projects I made using Give It a Whirl dies. I don't think you guys got to see my little spinning snowflake. I added that to my brad and just made my snowflake spin. I made this box live on camera, but I hadn't finished decorating it yet. So now you got to see the finished product. So that's what I have going on right now. And I'm moving on after this to another set. And I will be opening, I just got a new kit called the Christmas Whimsy Card Kit, which is a brand new kit that's available now. And you get to check that out soon because I'm going to be making some projects with that. Give it a Christmas Whimsy kit. Next month we have another kit coming out. Another Christmassy type kit to make tags with. So all of those things are found in the front of your catalog, the holiday catalog. And I did just get those too. So let me know if you're interested in one of them by using the contact form linked in my website. Well, that's all for now. I hope you enjoyed these troubleshooting tips and tricks. And I hope you will not get frustrated with your machine. Give them a try. Rinse and repeat. Do it as many times as you need to. Watch my other tips on cleaning your machine with the Wonder, whatever that thing's called, the Wonder Magic Eraser. Magic erasers are really great for cleaning your machine. You can get them at the Dollar Tree and things. So watch my videos on how to clean your scanning plate as well. And how to restick your mats. I have loads and loads of troubleshooting tips. How to sharpen your blades. Or how to clean your blade holder. I mean, loads and loads. I'll try to link them in the description when I get a chance. Okay, thank you all for the ones who came in later. Thank you for coming. Give this video a thumbs up if you like it. And that's all for now. This is the Papered Chef.